Hi there, it's Leanne from Scary Movie Sunday. It's nice to see you all again. I know it's been quite a while. In the meantime, I've got married, been on a 3-week long honeymoon. So that's about it, really. That doesn't sound like a lot, but it's been tiring and time consuming, so I am back. I've got a new computer, which is why I'm here instead of over on the sofa, and I thought I'd try out the little camera thing that's around about here. I had to change some lighting and stuff, so I do apologise for that. Today's movie is called The Rite. I've wanted to watch this film for quite some time, although a devilly stuff kind of really freaks me out, but why not? It's very bright outside, as you can see, so I'll be fine. The synopsis for this is: choosing not to believe in the devil won't protect you from him. That's a quote from the movie, I guess. Academy Award winner Anthony Hopkins stars in this supernatural thriller that reveals the devil's reach to even one of the holiest places on earth. So I'm guessing maybe, because I haven't actually read anything about this film, so I'm guessing it's going to be like in a convent or a monastery or somewhere like that. So yeah, so I'm going to write my notes and I will be back soon. By the way, you know when we hear all this racket, he couldn't have done that at a better time, really. That was Doug, and that's what me and my husband called slugging, and it's like when they've just woke up and they're all like, ugh, and they kind of stretch themselves. They tend to do it out of their bed, but Doug's just displayed it coming out of his little tube, so there you go. Right then, so I shall see you in a short while. Goodbye. Hello, back again. So this film took a lot longer than I thought it would. I didn't actually look to see how long it would be. But you know what? This was a really good film. I was... Really, Archie? Sorry. They've been so quiet as well. Doug has even sat here and, like he is now, watching the film with me. Anyway, I digress. So, the film that I watched was The Rite, and IMDb gave it 6 out of 10. I've wanted to watch this film for a while, and I was right to be cautious about watching this, as it is about demon possession, that kind of thing. And I think if I had watched it, you know, on my own in the dark, I would have been quite terrified and wouldn't have slept that evening. So luckily for me, I've watched this film early in the day, so I should be alright. Okay, so I'll just go through a brief rundown. As usual, I do apologise for any spoilers. I will try not to give any spoilers, but I will discuss parts of the film and how they made me feel, that kind of thing. Okay, and I'm so sorry about all the noise. It's Archie, you can see him running in the wheel. It makes so much noise. And don't worry about those two, they're just grooming. That's what they did. Anyway, so the film starts in a funeral home in America. Funeral homes are slightly different in America to how they are in England. As I understand, in America it is actually a home where the mortuary is and things, correct me if I'm wrong, and obviously the preparations for the funeral and stuff gets done in the funeral home, and the funeral is conducted at the funeral home. Whereas over in England, I don't know if you're aware, we have a mortuary, then we have a funeral directors who they prepare the body for funeral and for viewing, i.e. putting makeup on it and doing its hair and things like that, and then we would have a funeral elsewhere, like in a church or a crematorium. So anyway, the film starts in this funeral home, and it's a father and son operation, and the son is Michael Kovac, and he's there sort of putting contacts on the deceased's eyes, and putting like, you know, dried grass in their throat and things, and sewing them up and all that kind of thing. Do you know what? It was actually quite nice to see. because of the care that was given to this deceased lady. But there was something important that was highlighted at this time. The lady was wearing like a bracelet, and it had it was an eye. I'll give you a quick drawing. So it was an eye like this, and where I've sort of scribbled out, that was like blue. But that's never explained in the film what that is, because it's a recurring thing that happens throughout the film, which really annoyed me a little bit actually. So I would have liked to know what it is. You know, like in the first, well, the prequel to The Exorcist, where you have the little statue, and that's what is in Reagan's house when she gets possessed and all that kind of business. So this would have been interesting, because it does link the possessions together. There was one thing that I noticed when do you know what, I'll take my glasses off, there we go, and sort that out. Oh dear, that's embarrassing, isn't it? Anyway, there is a cinema called Redemption Theatre, which I thought was a nice touch, being as, you know, it's about sins and possession and that kind of thing. So this Michael Kovac, his dad has said to him, you either follow in the family business of being a mortician working in the funeral home, or you go to seminary school, I think I've pronounced that correctly, where you learn to be a priest and all that kind of stuff in the Catholic Church. He goes for the priesthood, even though he's not really got much faith in God and the devil, that kind of thing. But I think he sees it as just a way to get away from his dad, and, you know, it's 4 years actually learning stuff. So that's what he does. And then fast forward to 4 years later, and he's about to sign his resignation letter to send to the head person, like the superior. And oh man, all 3 of them are going now. And the superior's like, no, I really think you have potential, you're not leaving, basically. And then he goes on to explain how the Vatican get over 500,000 reports of possession every year, and the Vatican wants to appoint an exorcist in each diocese, and he thinks that this Michael chap would be ideal for that role. So off he trots to Rome, and that's where the story begins as such, because you think, well, how can you be an exorcist if you don't believe in God? Because surely you don't believe in God, then you don't believe in the devil. So there you go. So that's how things start. As he sort of finishes his conversation, he then leaves. No, sorry, this happened before the conversation. A nun gets run over, and she sort of is asking him, she's saying, you know, like, Father, can you please give me the last rites? And he's just like, I can't. She's like, please, just give me the last rites. So he does. He rolls off the last rites and things, and that's what gives the superior the indication that he does have this presence about him, and he could be an exorcist. But I quite liked that scene, not in a morbid way, for a change, but because normally you see the last rites in sort of, you know, things that are set in Tudor times or medieval times, and you don't really see it in modern day society. So that was quite nice to see. I thought I would love to go to Rome, not to be an exorcist though. I think that would be a bit of a down point if I went to go and do that. But yeah, it just looks like a beautiful city. I quite like city breaks. Are you trying to be quiet there? Mr. Scary Movie Sunday sneaking around. Although, to be fair, it's easier for him to do it now. That's a big grin. Yeah, so I'd love to go, but Mr. Scary Movie Sunday does not want to go to Rome because he thinks it will be boring. He agreed. But, you know, I'd like to see the Trevi Fountain, the Colosseum. I'd love to go to the Vatican. I know that's a separate place to Rome because it's its own country, but still, it's right next to it. So, yeah. That was just a point I'd like to make. Nothing to do with the film at all. So sorry about that. Anyway, so Michael's on this course. It's set in like an auditorium, and you have Father Xavier, and he's saying about all these different types of possession, and you know, the signs of possession, like twitching limbs and people being a bit absent-minded and stuff like that. And Michael, he's very much on the side of it is more likely to be a scientific explanation, and he's saying, well, these kind of things could be to do with schizophrenia or the psychological disorders. So what makes you think that it would be something that needs exercising? And it's actually quite an interesting debate, because a lot of the things that you would think would need an exorcism do translate into the medical profession. So I thought that was quite good, and that theme also runs through the movie, which you don't really see, because here's this guy who's a trainee priest, but he's actually like a serious skeptic at the same time. So normally it's one or the other. You know, it's usually one person arguing completely against the other, whereas this Michael is more open to interpretation. Okay, so Father Xavier, who's sort of taking the training course, he says to Michael, there's someone I need you to see. And off he trots to Anthony Hopkins' house, and it's absolutely covered with cats. And by covered, I mean there was about 20 cats in his garden. They weren't his. Apparently Rome is infested with cats. I don't know. If you've been to Rome and it's infested with cats, let me know, see if this fact is true. So Father Lucas, who is Anthony Hopkins' character, he says to Michael, okay, we're going to go straight into an exorcism. And Michael's like, say what? I've only just got here. And it's this pregnant girl, I can't for the life of me remember her name. I want to say Rosanna, but I know that's not correct. That's just my Toto fascination. Anyway, it's not important. Anyway, it's this pregnant girl who goes repeatedly for like mini exorcisms, and at the end you kind of think, that's it, that is the exorcism, and then there's further explanation from there why it's not what the what you know, like the kind of exorcism that you normally see in films, where somebody's sort of normal and then all of a sudden their head spins round and they start talking in tongues and stuff like that. So that was an interesting take on the whole exorcism thing, and I'd like to see if that is how it goes down. I mean, obviously I wouldn't like to be in the room, but you know, it'd be quite interesting. But then it does get to the point where it's an exorcism how you would think, and it was very well executed in my opinion. It was very grim, very atmospheric. The special effects were amazing, and I just think it was nice to see they'd actually put effort into that scene. Not that they don't normally, but you know what I mean, like extra effort to make it slightly different. Sorry, I'm looking down here because here's my note with my little drawing on. Which, you know, by the way, in these smaller exorcisms, that little eye thing is involved in them as well. Okay. I've put, frogs have never been creepy until now. There is a scene where, I won't explain why, so that you know you've actually got something to watch, but basically it turns out there's a lot of frogs that appear, and frogs, I like frogs. I mean, they're cute, they're squashy, they ribbit, and what are you laughing at? You know I love frogs. And you know, I like picking them up and looking at them and stuff like that. But yeah, the frogs in this film are quite terrifying. If I came home and there were like 100 frogs, I might get a bit freaked out. So yeah, if you have like sort of a thing against frogs, just don't watch this film, or get somebody to watch it with you so they can fast forward through the icky parts. There's parts of this that I've never seen in a film before, like there's eerie phone calls, and I won't say why because, you know, once again I don't want to spoil it. Excuse me, I should chewing gum. You know, and there are sort of sightings of the demon and stuff like that. All in all, I think it was a really good film. There were a couple of times that expletives were shouted, not necessarily for scary reasons, more for shock factor. I mean, there's one part where where something happens that if it happened in real life, if you saw it happen with your own eyeballs in front of you, you would be like, what is going on? And you'd be right over there like a shot to stop it from happening. And that's the thing that made me sort of and yeah, so it's not expect the unexpected with this one. I can't even read because I've taken my glasses off so that I can speak to you properly. Anthony Hopkins. Let's talk about Sir Anthony Hopkins. In this film, he goes from being a really lovely, gentle, nice person to demonic, I suppose. And he's terrifying. I mean, I bet he's a wonderful man to meet and speak to. However, if he decided to turn his Hannibal Lecter phase on, I wouldn't be in the room with him. And I'll tell you what else is really strange, hearing him speak in a Welsh accent. I know he is Welsh, but it's still strange. You expect him to be in his sort of, you know, I can't even do his accent, but you know what I mean, his non-Welsh accent. So yeah, I've put here Anthony Hopkins plus Welsh accent equals strangest 10 seconds of my life. So yeah, he alone, just watch this film just for him alone. He's amazing, and unfortunately he doesn't come in until about maybe a third of the way into the film, but the build up beforehand, it does help build the atmosphere for his character. I'd watch this again, I really would. IMDb gave this movie a 6 out of 10, and I think that's a very good score. However, I'm going to give it an 8 out of 10. A, because I'd watch it again. B, because it did shock me on more than one level. Not just gore or demonic possession or whatever. You know, it's multi-layered. 3, I don't know if I went into A, B, C's or 1, 2, 3, so I'm going to go to 3. It melded together science and religion. It wasn't just a case of whereas with, say, The Exorcist, for instance, the film The Exorcist, that is literally about demons and exorcists. You know, at the very beginning there's some psychological testing and stuff, but you know, not all the way through the film, where all the way through this film you've got that argument. Even sort of towards the end it's there, and I think that's really unusual, and yeah, it's just something different. Really glad that I watched this film. So yeah, 8 out of 10. So remember guys, have a scary movie Sunday.